Welcome to Mrs. Buck's Kitchen, where we test the recipe so you don't have to. Warning, warning, this is a viewer warning. We are not making a super easy recipe on today's episode. Instead, we're making a kind of easy recipe for our super awesome Thanksgiving special. Today, on our Thanksgiving special, we are making a good old-fashioned apple pie. And like I said earlier, this isn't a real easy recipe. It's just kind of easy as far as apple pies go, I guess. But the first thing we have to do is start with the pie crust. Yes, we are making our own pie crust. No, we're not buying it from the store, but this is a super easy recipe. As you'll see, it only has 3 ingredients, which that's pretty easy, and one of the ingredients is cream cheese. And who doesn't love cream cheese? So let's go ahead and get started and make the super easy, awesome pie crust. Pie crust. Come on, let's do it. For today's super easy pie crust, we will need 1 cup of flour, ½ cup of butter, and 3 ounces of cream cheese. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is put all of these ingredients into my mixer here. I'm going to go ahead and cut up the butter into little cubes, little chunks, just so it's easier to get it mixed up. Now my goal here while putting it in the mixer is just to blend it enough to where after it's all combined it looks like a coarse cornmeal with little beads no bigger than peas. Something that I like about this recipe is that usually for pastries there's a lot to deal with. Like first they want you to mix it together and then get your pastry cutter. Who has a pastry cutter? Unless you cook pies all the time, and if you do, you're watching the wrong show, because you're probably not going to learn anything different from me. But if you're like me where you cook pies like at Thanksgiving and maybe Christmas, or I don't know, for a potluck or something, you don't have a pastry cutter. So this is the best recipe if you're not really a baker per se, but you do have to make a pie every once in a while. Or if you're that bachelor and want to impress your girlfriend, make her an apple pie and you won't even know. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that in our mixer here. Put in the flour, and then we'll start mixing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and mix it. I'm going to put it on low. I just have it on stir here. Again, I'm just going to mix it slowly, just enough to where it just resembles, if you look in here, it gets that the butter pieces and cream cheese pieces are no bigger than the size of a pea. Now, if you don't have an electric mixer, what I would recommend doing is just go ahead and put it in a bowl and get a fork and just cut the pieces in together. Don't mix it, just cut the pieces in, because what you're wanting to do, again, is make a coarse cornmeal type mixture, and then from there we'll put a little bit of water on it and put it into that dough ball. But go ahead and look, we're almost getting there. I like doing this, it's just so much easier than having to deal with it, and you know me and my sticky hands, so it's just easier to do it this way. And as you see, the mixer is doing all the work. Thank you Dad and Jen for the awesome Christmas present from like 8 years ago. I use it all the time. Okay, so now after we got it all mixed together, you kind of put it together, all that coarse meal, into like a ball, like this, like a dough ball here. Just use your hands and do that. And then you put it in the pan. There's no rolling necessary. And just spread it out. Now if it's too sticky, you can get a little flour in your hands and or put a little bit on the dough, just a little bit. Again, you don't want to make it too flaky, because you know what they say about flaky dough. I don't really know what they say about flaky dough, but I know what they say about flaky people, and it's not good. So we'll just not put too much flour on there. But I'm lucky this time. It's not too sticky. So we'll go ahead and just spread that out until it fits the whole pan. And you can use any kind of pie pan. You can buy their disposable kind. Those are the easiest. I just have this old pie pan that I use. I just like to put foil on it because, you know what? It's easier than buying a new pie pan. Who has money for that? You buy a disposable pie pan and then you throw it away. So you're essentially spending all that money just to throw it away. I mean, you've used it, but then you throw it away. It makes no sense. Okay, so now you have your nice pie crust all spread out in your pan. And if you want to have a little fun with it, you can kind of look at your pie crust as a canvas. So if you want to have some fun, you can put little fork marks in the side and cringe your pie crust up the top there. Or sometimes you can do little finger things, pinches. I'm just going to do this fork thing because it's a lot easier. And we are all about easy after all. But just have fun with your pie crust. It doesn't have to be difficult as you see in this recipe. I mean, this is super easy. And voila! Pie crust is done and we are ready to make the apple mixture. Once we're done with the apple mixture, we'll pour it in and we'll just cook it all together. No need to cook the pie crust beforehand. So let's go ahead and start working on those apples. Okay, so the first thing we need for our apple pie is apples. Kind of easy over there, but here's the thing. We need 5 to 6 cups of cored, peeled, and sliced apples. This is where the not easy part comes in. Okay, so as you can see, the apples are cored, peeled, and cut. Now the next step is combining the dry ingredients. For this step, we will have a 3/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of light brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of flour, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is combine these ingredients in a bowl. We're going to go ahead and pour the sugar in, pour the sugars. Then we'll go ahead and dump the flour in. And then we'll go ahead and put the cinnamon in. And I just use a spoon and just a normal old spoon. Mix those up. Another easy way is you just put, if you're like I have, I'm using a little Rubbermaid type container. You can put a lid on it. That's funny. Put a lid on it. And then just shake it up. And that's another good way to mix it up. I like to do this though with the spoon because the brown sugar can get clumpy and the spoon can kind of break up those clumps. We'll go ahead and get that all mixed up. Now the next step in the ingredient says, well actually the step before this step in the recipe says to go ahead and lay out the apples in the pie crust. Then mix this together, then toss with the apples while in the pie crust, and that just gets messy. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is combine these sugars together, and then toss with the apples in the bowl here, and then put that in the pie crust, along with the next step, which is the butter and the water. We have to add 1 tablespoon of butter, and that butter needs to be melted, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in this little Pyrex bowl, and I'm going to melt that in the microwave for just a small amount of time, 20-30 seconds. And then we'll also put in a tablespoon of cold water. I already have a nice glass of ice cold water here that I'll get the water from. So I'm going to go ahead and melt that butter, and I'll be right back. Okay. We just took a break to look at my baby. But now we're going to go ahead and put in the next ingredients, which is 1 tablespoon of melted butter. I had a brain lapse there. I did a Rick Perry. Haha. For you political junkies, you know what that means. Otherwise, just skip that part. So we'll go ahead and put in the melted butter. Ooh, yummy. And it's actually 2 tablespoons of cold water, not 1 like I said earlier. Don't listen to me. Go to my blog. Look at the recipes there. It'll be easier to follow. And plus, you want to print it off. If you want to do this recipe, maybe it's not as cool as I think it is. Maybe you're watching this video and you're thinking, that is not a good recipe. I don't know why she keeps making it. But you'll see the result. It's a pretty good recipe. I wouldn't trick ya. And we don't get to have a taste tester this time because I'm making these pies for Thanksgiving. Okay, so we got this all nice and mixed. All the sugars mixed. Now I'm going to go ahead and dump the sugars in with the apples. And then we're going to toss the apples. Make them nice and cinnamony and sugary. Now I do want to let you know, when I cored and peeled these apples, it took me about 4 apples to get 5 to 6 cups. And these were green Granny Smith apples. I always like to use those when I cook apple pie. I just like the taste. I think it's just a nice, little bit bitter. I like the bitterness combined with the sweetness of the sugars. It's just a good combination. So, okay, they're all nice and tossed. So we're going to go ahead and do the next step, which is put the apples in the pie crust. Now, I'm just going to dump these apples in. Now, for you sneaky Martha Stewart types, if you want to arrange the apples and make it look pretty, go for it. I'm just going to toss it all in because, quite frankly, it all tastes the same. Doesn't matter if they're all in a row. So we're going to go ahead and look at this heaping pile of apples. Don't you just already want to eat it? And it's been so easy, right? Nah, I know, this isn't an easy recipe, but it's a pretty good recipe, so that counts, right? But the pie crust is easy, believe me. When it comes to making homemade pie crust, this takes the cake. The next step in making our apple pie is making the crumbling top. So what we'll want to do is go ahead and get our ingredients together. We will go ahead and have 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1 cup of flour. These are our dry ingredients for our crumble top. We'll go ahead and mix those together in a bowl, and we're going to do that right about now. Go ahead and put the sugar in, the crumble, not the crumble, the brown sugar, the cinnamon, and the flour. Doesn't that look so good? Okay, so we're going ahead and mixing this all up. Once again, want to put a lid on it, just do that and shake it up. And that's another good way to mix it up. I don't know why I'm not doing that, to be quite frank. I just think that actually sounds a lot easier. But like I said, we can mush up those brown little things, the brown sugar things. Okay, watch me stir. That's better. Okay, all nice and mixed up. Now we just got to cut in our butter. We're going to use 1/2 cup of softened butter. And we are going to cut that into our dry ingredients here to make our topping. When I say cut that in, you just use your fork and cut it in. And again, we're trying to make a crumble, almost like how we did at the beginning, where you where we made the pastry, where it's kind of crumbly, like coarse meal, and we don't want the pieces any bigger than a pea. So we're just cutting this up with the fork, trying to make it nice and crumbly. Okay, so now it's all nice and crumbly, and we're just going to go ahead and dump this on top of our pie. I recommend putting your pie on, like I'm doing a cutting board or something, because it can get a little messy. Just take your hand and just spread it all over, because this is going to be our topping. And then once we get this all sprinkled on, we're going to go ahead and bake the pie at 425 degrees for 10 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and reduce the oven to 325 degrees and cook for about an hour more after that. And then once we're done with that, we'll be back to put on the nice glaze. Okay, so once again, we're cooking for 10 minutes at 425 degrees. After 10 minutes, we're going to bring the temperature down to about 325 degrees. So let's go ahead and get that in the oven and cook it for 10 minutes at 425 degrees. So that is our nice apple pie all baked, and we are ready for the final step, the drizzle. It just takes 2 simple ingredients, half a cup of powdered sugar, which we're going to go ahead and dump in the bowl, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Just sprinkle that around, mix that up so it's a nice little drizzle. So we're just making that drizzle, look at that, nice and drizzly. And what I do then is I just go ahead and take a fork, put that in, and then I just sprinkle it around, just drizzle it, which I guess is why it's called a drizzle. Drizzle it around. All over. You make nice little designs or just get it all over. Sprinkle it all over there. And we're almost done. Can't you taste that apple pie? Okay, so we're almost done with the drizzle. It's important to note, make sure you put this drizzle on the pie while it's warm. Because that way it helps it kind of stay melted on there and get deep, kind of soak into that crumble we put on there. And voila, we have a nice apple crumble pie. And I did want to bring out a point. I know this is our Thanksgiving special and I didn't talk about turkey or stuffing or sweet potatoes. The reason I decided to just focus on the pie is because, well, I'm thankful for pie. And let's face it, you're only there for the pie in the first place. So thank you for joining me on our special Thanksgiving special. And I hope to see you soon. Oh, and by the way, we are still having part 2 of our football special. We have lots of specials. But the only reason we haven't gotten to it yet is because I've been trying to find a simple, easy chicken wing recipe. And I'm going to tell you people out there who put out recipes that say they're easy, if the recipe has more than 10 ingredients, it's not easy. Okay? So all of you viewers out there, if you have a simple, easy chicken wing recipe, send it my way. Go to my blog, email me at mrsbuffskitchen@gmail.com, and I will try your recipe on air on YouTube. So again, thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you soon.